Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Today I'm sharing how I make these delicious and super quick and easy potato squares with creamy chicken cheese layer, as well as potato and chicken swirl patties, both using the same ingredients. It's a great way to add variety to your spread, and of course you can make the one you find the easiest. This delicious crispy snack, they freeze really well, so you can prepare a big batch and store them for Ramadan, for school lunches, or for a quick tea snack. Bonus tip, you can use any leftovers you have for sandwiches. So let's get started with the recipe, but before that, please do consider subscribing to my channel and giving this video a big thumbs up. So the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my potatoes, and I have made this mistake so many times, which is buying the wrong kind of potato. So I always go with these brown skinned big russet potatoes, and what I do is I score them in the middle so that it's easier for me to peel them later. And I have here 1 kg of russet potatoes, and I boiled them covered for 40 minutes, and then I'm going to strain them right away because I don't want to overcook my potatoes. That's another mistake. Overcooking the potatoes or letting them sit in the water for too long turns them mushy and they don't hold their shape well. So all I'm doing now is washing them, rinsing them with some cold water, and this is why we scored them. You can just slide off the peel, and that's how easy it is. So now, while the potatoes are still a bit hot, not piping hot, but they're still warm and hot to touch, I'm going to mash them. You can use a fork, you can use your hands. I'm using this masher thingy, and all I'm using is salt and pepper to season the potato mixture. You can also use some chicken powder if you had it. You can add chili flakes, you can add green chilies, whatever you like. Just make sure whatever you add is super finely chopped, and this is how you want your potato mixture to be. It should be able to hold its shape, not sticking to your hands too much, as you can see here as well. So the next step is preparing the filling in the middle, and for that I'm going to start by making a white sauce base. I'm using butter and flour in equal quantities, about 3 tablespoons of each, and now I'm going to cook it on medium low till it starts to brown up, and it's going to start leaving the edges. It's gonna also you're going to be able to smell it a little bit as well. And to this I'm adding in some milk, about 1/3 to 1/2 cup, and it can also go to 2/3 cup depending on your flour. And you want to have a very thick paste. You want to keep stirring it till it gets a little harder to whip it. You need to use a little bit of force. And now to that I'm adding in some chicken. I have here about 300 grams of boiled shredded chicken. I'm also adding cheese. If you want a very stringy effect, use mozzarella cheese. I'm using half mozzarella and half cheddar cheese. I used about 2/3 to 1 cup of cheese in total in the entire recipe that I've used. And now to season it, I'm adding salt, I'm adding some pepper. I'm also going to add some Italian seasoning, and I'm adding ketchup. It's completely optional. If you want, you can add chili garlic sauce, you can add some sriracha, you can add some buffalo sauce. The sky is the limit when you're trying to flavor this. So first we're going to start by making the squares, which are the easiest. And you want to use a dish which is freezer safe. I like to oil it and then add a piece of parchment paper because after you freeze this, you don't want anything stuck to the bottom. So I'm going to add a nice generous layer of potato mixture and try to get it as even as you possibly can. And then to that, I'm going to add in our creamy chicken filling, the layer that we just prepared, and add a generous layer of that as well. Try to make everything as smooth as possible, and then we're going to follow this with another potato layer. For the top layer of the potatoes, please try to be as gentle as you possibly can, because we want these layers to find when we break into a patty or when we open it. We want that filling in the middle oozing out. So that's why what I like to do is I put small pieces of the potato mixture here and there, and then I just gently smooth it with my spatula. Again, you can use your hands, and you can also use a spoon or also a palette knife, especially if you're using a big enough tray. And now you can see how nice it looks even from the side. And we are going to pop this into the freezer for about an hour, but before that I'm going to score the edges of this tray with a sharp knife because I don't want any chances of this sticking, so make sure to do that. And while that's in the freezer, we're going to start on our potato swirl patty. It's a little technique that I use, and I was surprised that it worked really well. All you have to do is take a piece of parchment or butter paper and have a nice generous layer. Try to make it as evenly rectangular as possible, and then all you have to do is put on the chicken filling. Don't do too much because you don't want it falling apart. Just nice even layer of the potato filling as well as the creamy chicken layer, and all you have to do is rotate it gently as you would like a cake, a roulade cake. So just gently keep turning it and rolling it and folding it. I have no idea how to actually explain it, but I hope you can see by the visuals how to do this. It's super easy. The butter paper, it leaves the potatoes really easily. They don't really stick to it. And if they do, you can use a little bit of oil on the bottom and then you can start rolling. And this is why it's very important that your potato filling is not mushy or sticky, then it's not going to hold its shape. And I'm also going to put this in the freezer for an hour so that it's hard enough and we can cut it super easily. Now take a sharp knife. This is out of the freezer right now after an hour. This is the piece that we cut before we put it in. So I am going to cut a couple of slices and then I'm going to show you how it looks. The more you leave it in the freezer, the more defined circular shape you are going to get. I took them out, this one I think I didn't even give it an hour. I took them out after like 40 minutes, so that's why you can see that it's more of an oval than a circle. But if that happens, it's completely okay. You can manipulate the shape with your hand just like I'm doing here. And you can see those cute little swirls. It looks like little shrimps hiding in your potato patties. They look really pretty, and that's how you will make all of them. So next I have the squares that we froze, and I'm going to take it out again, score it with a sharp knife and take it out. That's why we use the parchment paper, because it just pops right out. And then I'm going to cut it into squares. This recipe can easily make 24 to 36 depending on how big you're making. So now both of them are frozen solid, as you can hear, and it's time to do the breading. Or to make my life a lot easier, I have maybe about not even half a cup of flour, just a little bit flour in a Ziploc bag, and I'm going to toss them around. And because everything is super frozen, I don't have to worry about anything sticking. It saves quite a lot of time when you're doing a big batch. And next, all I'm doing is putting it in an egg, and then I am coating them with fresh made breadcrumbs. Whenever anything is frozen, I find that using freshly made breadcrumbs is a lot easier, because once you add egg on something frozen, it starts to dry up immediately. So the fresh breadcrumbs, it really helps. So now I have everything done. I'm going to put them in the freezer and we're going to fry them later. So now let's fry a couple of these pieces. You can deep fry them, and I'm also going to share how you can make them in the air fryer. So for frying, this is what you want to do. You want medium to medium low heat, put a skewer in, and you want bubbles, gentle bubbles around your stick. That means that the oil is ready. Now once the oil is hot enough, add your patties or your squares. Do not overcrowd the pan. I don't like adding more than 6 or 7, but it depends on the size of your pan. You want to shallow fry them until they're golden brown. It's going to take about 5 to 6 minutes. Any less than that and your potatoes are not going to cook through. They're going to stay hard in the middle. And any more than that, and you can actually burst that middle layer, because the cheese would start oozing out of your patties. So 5 to 6 minutes is good enough. So now if you want to make them in an air fryer, you can do it on 200 degrees centigrade for about 12 minutes. You just put them frozen in, no need to thaw them. And I also made a couple of pieces without the breading in case you want to skip that completely. So now to decorate these delicious snacks, you can either get the store-bought pre-made toothpicks, the ones that have colored edges, or you can do a little DIY at home. Just take toothpicks and some silver foil and wrap the edges and put it on top of your squares with a couple of pieces of chopped green onions, and immediately it just takes it to another level. It looks very presentable and gives that wow factor, especially if you're serving it to guests at a party, especially at an iftar party. I love serving these with some tamarind chutney or some mint chutney. You can of course serve it with whatever you like. So that was all for today's video and the recipe. If you guys enjoyed it, please do give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. If you try this out, please do share with me how it went and your experience on my Instagram page, which is by the same name. Until next time, the Homemaker Baker, over and out.